Mr. President, this bill is to amend the various tax laws and to remove the discretionary power of the minister, being the Minister of Finance, to waive taxes and to provide the infrastructural framework for accounting for waivers of custom duties and other connected purposes. I'm sure many would have heard much debate on this matter in the lower house, and truly what this is, Mr. President, is the Minister of Finance no longer exercising a discretionary power, but ensuring that there is proper legislation in place for guidance as to how the accounting and accountability of taxes is dealt with. It is not to say, and we would have heard many arguments before in the lower house, suggestions that those who are more vulnerable will no longer have that discretion or receive the opportunities of receiving the duty-free waivers. But that is not so, and it is based upon everyone's needs. But if you look at this, this is not simply about duty-free on vehicles. This is looking at the revenue recovery charge. If you look at clause 3, it speaks about revenue recovery charge. And that is in relation to the existing Act of 2010, which would be amended, and which therefore removes the exemption unless the said exemption is so authorized by an Act of Parliament. So it is not to say that the minister will not be able to grant the exemption, but it will be by virtue of what it really applies to. Also, you will note at clause 2, the Environmental Protection Levy, and that also removes the discretion from the relevant minister there to be able to just waive the exemption in those circumstances. It also applies to the Tourism Guest Levy Act and of 2021. And I mean, the reality is that we've had hotels and those institutions who continuously, for whatever reason, no matter how well they may be doing or not, they continuously insist on getting waivers on every single item. It could be bed sheets, it could be napkins, it could be pens. And I mean, really and truly, that is not what was intended by the legislation. When we look at clause 5, you will note that the minister, under paragraph 4, the minister may by order exempt imported or imported goods from payment of any part of the whole of customs duties, but such exemption shall not be granted for goods imported for retail. So it does allow some discretion for the minister to be able to grant waivers in terms of custom duties. But naturally, it cannot be that you intend to get customs duties on items that you're intending to make a profit. So there is no waiver or discretion for the minister on his own to waive such, simply in that way. And for waivers that are done in accordance with the Customs Control and Management Act of 2013, the minister shall cause a report to be prepared twice per year. And I believe they've identified January and the 1st of January and the 1st of July of each year. But in any event, not less than the 45 days after the 6-month period, a report shall be laid. And of course, you know, we have a Public Accounts Committee that will be responsible for looking into all of that. All import or export customs duties and all exemptions from customs duties granted prior. So if persons had their duties already granted before the 1st of April, they will be honored, but it is from the 1st of April, once this bill is passed, that this will take effect. Anything happening from the 1st of April. I just want to say that I want to commend highly, because there are not many politicians, much more prime ministers, who would allow for opportunities like this to happen. What it does show is that internationally, there are greater demands on accountability of governments. Locally, there's greater demands on accountability of governments. And if you're not willing and alert and pay attention to instances like that, I mean, what transparency and accountability are the great hallmarks of good governance. And I want to really say commendations to the Honorable Prime Minister and his team at Finance for being bold enough to accept such responsibilities via law. It now engages the Parliament and other members of the opposition side who do form a part of government, although they may not think so. They are part of the governance structure. It's not just to oppose, but it is also for them to be aware and to give suggestions, for them to also understand what accountability and transparency is all about. And I just want to say that I don't think, I should make it clear that there are instances, especially under the Customs Control and Management Act of 1993, which is referred to within this relevant bill, that there are procedures for appeals to the Comptroller of Customs if persons feel aggrieved by the amounts that they may be charged. But the reality at the end of the day is that we have to understand that we all have a role to play in making our contributions. We can't speak about SIDS and the SIDS conference and climate change and the impact on the environment, but yet we all want to waive the environmental tax. We can't want to see things happening with the improvements of your infrastructure, of your institutions, but we don't want to make our contribution towards our taxes. So I think this is really all in line with what the Honorable Prime Minister would have signaled within the budget, everyone playing their role towards the overall national development.